Hello, everybody. Welcome to the November 14th edition of the Sigstore community meeting. Hayden is not feeling well, so I am stepping in as the chair for today. Go ahead and get started. First, we'll do the project round robin, and I will fill out the links to this later. But we had two releases of note since the last meeting. We had the 2.2.1 release of Cosign, which was included a CVE fix for an issue that was reported as part of an audit of some other CNCF projects. So we've cut a fix for that. So if you haven't taken a look at that, please do upgrade. The quick version on the security issue is if someone had compromised a registry where Cosign was going to fetch signatures from and had flooded a enormous amount of signatures into that registry, you could essentially orchestrate a denial of service sort of attack to where you would never get an actual response around whether a signature was valid or not. So fix is pretty straightforward. It just caps that at a sane value. But that fix is now out. We are going to backport that fix to .x release of Cosign. Generally, we would just urge folks to upgrade instead of actually requesting a backport. But given that this fix was specifically found during an audit of one of our friendly projects, Caverno, we wanted to make sure that the folks had a fix that they could roll out there as well. We also rolled out a updated release of Recore. Don't think there were any security issues there, just a couple functional enhancements and upgraded dependencies. We did also have a release of GetSign. I'll have to get the link. That happened earlier this week. And then I also see that William is adding in something around the Sigstore Rust client. So William, maybe I'll put you on the spot and get you to give an update about what you're typing in there. William. All right. Well, we'll come back to that here in a minute. Oh, now I see you, William. I don't know if can anybody else hear me? I want to make sure folks can hear me before I keep talking. Okay.
Yeah, I hear you good.
All right, cool. So I guess there's a couple notes there on the Rust client that uses the tough root, and then we'll have support for the bundle format coming up soon. On the infrastructure, public good infrastructure side, did not have any. I don't think there's any major updates or things. The last meeting we had announced that we had completed the deprecation of the Cosign release GCS bucket. That has now been done. We only had 2 issues that were filed from projects that had not upgraded their release scripts or other scripts that they had. Those were quickly resolved. Didn't hear any other reports from folks, so glad to have that behind us. And on the doc side, I know there's been a couple fixes that have flown in on some of the pages, as well as I think Hayden and Lisa were working on adding a link to the status pages that we have for public and infrastructure into the doc site as well. So for the folks that don't know, we actually have status.sigstore.dev, which renders a set of kind of green-red signals around the health of the various services that we expose. So with that, any questions on the project round robin or anything that I missed? Folks want to raise? William, I don't know if you're back and can hear me.
Sorry, yeah, I couldn't hear you before.
Okay, I figured. I kept asking you if you wanted to chime in on the Rust thing, and you kept just.
I apologize.
It's all. Did you want to say anything more than what I said?
Yeah, I can speak briefly about the Rust update. Sure. So there are 2 updates there. The first is that as of this morning, the Sigstore Rust repository has merged support for the trust root. So that's the bundled root of trust in the top repository that Sigstore deploys. And then upcoming pretty soon, my team at Trilobits will be submitting a PR for standard Sigstore bundle support instead of Sigstore REST. So with that, we'll also add conformance suite testing to the REST implementation. So that'll get us, I think, pretty close to a 1.0 release on Sigstore REST. Fingers crossed.
Perfect. Thanks. All right. Next up, I believe we have our friend Dave Lester, who's going to give us some readouts and feedback from Packaging Con. So over to you.
Yeah, so just a brief update here. I know William spoke at Packaging Con. I'm not sure if anyone else looking at the attendee list right now was there at the event, but Packaging Con was an entire conference about software package management. It took place in Berlin. It was a hybrid event. About 200 plus folks attended, kind of half online, roughly half remotely. And I think it went well. The feedback we've been receiving so far was really positive. This was the first time that this was a hybrid event. 2 years ago, there was an online version of this. So it was great to have a group of people. And my interest here, I got involved as one of the kind of as part of the organizing team a number of months ago. And I think there's a real opportunity. And one of the reasons I wanted to kind of briefly kind of connect with you all in this meeting is I think there's a real opportunity to connect folks that are working on package management with different technical communities that have the opportunity to implement and integrate their features into their package managers, their registries, what have you. So this event was not exclusive to software supply chain security, but that was one of probably about like 3 primary themes of the event, and definitely came up. Sigstore was mentioned, given many shout outs. I know there are a few talks specifically that kind of went a little deeper into the project. So really exciting. One thing I did want to highlight too, because I know many of you are probably interested in the conference as a whole, all the talks were recorded. So the videos from the event will be going online soon. I don't have a firm date yet, but we're getting close to that. And as part of this, some of you may be aware there was the existing Discord server, package.community, communities that the top level domain, and that was started. I don't know the exact timeline, probably over 5 years ago, and had kind of become inactive for a few years. And as part of this event in this community, we kind of revived that server. So now there are, I'm not sure, over 600 folks registered on the server, quite a vibrant conversation during the event. And ideally, that's something that kind of persists and is a kind of a water cooler, a place to bring together folks working on software package management. So like I said, it's not exclusive to the technical concerns of Sigstore, but ideally, we do have a software supply chain security channel there, and ideally we can find more opportunities both here. I also spoke at the Securing Software Repositories work group meeting a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, just briefly about this as well. So hopefully we can find more ways to kind of work together and start to connect the dots.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. Any questions? It was definitely, I know with KubeCon last week, some folks were tweeting or Xing, I don't know. I still don't know what verb you're supposed to use for that now, but tweeting their FOMO for that event. Frankly, I had FOMO for not being able to join Packaging Con. So sounds like a great event, and definitely have to check out the Discord server. Yeah, I think I had checked out that a while ago, and kind of it did feel rather quiet. So I'll definitely have to check that out soon.
We could do more to, we can do more to, I think, improve the online presence of that. Something I would just say as well, I mentioned as a kind of opportunity that the Discord server, this was a community run event. It was partnered with NumFocus. And I think there's some questions about what is the future of this event? Is it the right format? Are there other opportunities? And I guess I want to mention that to this group as well. Maybe there are more kind of small kind of not spin-off events, but smaller, kind of more focused Packaging Con events with the same audience, but perhaps focused on topics closer to Sigstore. So keep that in mind. And yeah, the more we can do to bring these kind of communities together, I think the better. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it also kind kind of jives with some conversations going on at the OpenSSF right now around kind of our event strategy for 2024. So I'm now wearing kind of my OpenSSF TAC member hat for a second, where I think we're trying to figure out exactly how best we can support the wide variety of ecosystems. We've largely coupled it to OSS Summit, which is an LF event that's kind of broad in nature, and had pretty good success with that. But I think there's also a strong desire to make sure that we're reaching the right audience, both within the specific language ecosystems, as well as things that are certainly relevant to our broader goals like packaging con. So I think it's a great topic to perhaps raise more broadly with the OpenSSF TAC as we kind of ratify our plans for next year. So I think it's a great point. Any other questions for Dave? Awesome. So I had thrown one other thing into the any other business section, which is just fresh because it happened about an hour and a half ago, which is at the OpenSSF TAC meeting, quarterly projects and working groups are asked to come and give an update to the TAC, just in terms of things that are going on, things that the TAC should be aware of, and ways that the TAC can better support the projects and working groups. So we had our quarterly update today, and Hayden gave that presentation. A link to the notes, and then I'll find the slides here in a second and link to them as well. But just for everyone's awareness, that did happen this morning. I don't think there were any major takeaways from the discussion to share here, other than just it happened. Let's see here. Let me copy the link. Any other topics folks wanted to talk about? This can be anything from a very deep technical question on cosine to a broad architectural question to strategy or anything else. This is kind of the open-ended section of the meeting. Edmund, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, my name is Edwin. I'm very new here, so I have a bit of a beginning question, I guess. Or I'm currently looking into hosting our own Sigstore, which I assume that it's the public, or the feeling I'm getting, or I assume that the public Sigstore is not meant to be used by companies in general, because it feels a bit weird to sign my images or whatever artifacts and put it publicly, even though it's just metadata, but still. And one of the issues I feel is there's missing documentation on how to run your own Sigstore, or learnings about it in general. And sorry, I didn't really formalize a question here, but I've been joining the private Sigstore users group, and there are some stuff like how often should keys be rotated and stuff like that. It's a bit hard, and from if I could wish for something from the community, that would be that we would have some more documentation around that and how we should run our own Sigstores, I guess.
No, I mean, I think it's a great point, and I think one area where not to make an excuse, I think we know that's an area that we have some gaps and we'd like to close, but definitely want to make sure that we're making that experience a bit better. One thing that you said, I guess I would try to tease on a little bit, was the notion of the public infrastructure not being appropriate for corporate use. And I think, of course, like, not telling you what to do by any stretch of the imagination, but I think there are some specific questions, and I'll try to riff on this and certainly lean on others in the room to help jump in wherever I miss. You're correct in the sense of the public certificate authority does log creates a code citing certificate that you can use, but it puts the code citing certificate into a transparency log. So it does publicly attest to the fact that you've bound an identity to a set of key pairs. Furthermore, we have a second transparency log, which is run as an instance of Recore, that actually attests to the signature event itself. Now, if you look at what's actually persisted in the log, it could be simply the signature itself, the public key that's used to verify that signature, and the digest of what you've actually signed, if you use a specific type, or you could actually upload an entire build provenance attestation if you so chose. So there are some differing options there depending on what you're actually trying to sign and what your use case fundamentally is. And so I would say from a corporate perspective, I think part of what you have to consider is if you're baking in digital signatures into your overall build process, publishing build provenance of interim CI builds that have no link to publicly addressable source code probably have dubious value. But end releases perhaps does actually have a value to say, hey, as a company, we're issuing tag version XYZ with this checksum, and we actually publicly want to attest that we've used our final signing key for that given release. So I would say, like, some of it, of course, like many things in life, it depends in terms of what you're really trying to do. But oftentimes when we've had these sorts of conversations in the past, when people come and say, well, I love the concept and I love the experience, I just don't want to disclose things, therefore I must go to a public or a private instance of Sigstore. I think what I hear when folks say that is, I want the experience of the tooling, but without the public disclosure of all of the metadata that would be associated with that. So it really does come down to A, what you're comfortable disclosing, and B, the value of putting something into the transparency log is to drive public awareness and to be able to publicly monitor for the threat of your key being fundamentally compromised. And so being able to watch a log and have everyone actually watch a log to ensure a central kind of definition of a source of truth is the fundamental purpose there. So if you're not actually trying to mitigate against that threat, then it might not be appropriate for you to include it in your overall process. So long story short, it depends. I guess I'll pause here. Others may have other color that they want to add in. Paul, go ahead.
I was going to say welcome board, or welcome. Glad you're taking a stab at the project, but also if you see anything that can be updated, file a ticket on the document site. Like, hey, it'd be nice if it mentioned this. Even better, since a lot of us are going in different directions and going at this code base in different areas. Commit back to the docs. If there's anything that would help get us the private instance stuff up, because there are people doing it. Agree with Bob, but also for the people who spin up the private instance, documentation is always a great place to get started for helping too. So if you see anything, please feel free to file an issue, or even better, open a PR.
Yeah, I got my first PR merged last week, so.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for doing that, by the way. I know we were having some flakiness on some tests. I'm glad we finally got that over the line. Appreciate you doing that.
Yeah. No, for me, it's mostly private stuff that's, private microservices that's used internally and would like to have some kind of signing of those for our CI. But yeah, my guess was that it was already known, but yeah, I just want to bring it up, and yeah, thank you.
It's also really helpful to get a new perspective, since a lot of us have been messing with it, for going on a year or 2 years now. So when someone else comes in and sees something that's obvious to them, but not obvious to us, it's great to get that added in there. So new perspective is always great.
Great.
Absolutely. All right. Any other questions or topics folks want to chat about? All right. Well, I guess with that, we'll go ahead and call it adjourned. Appreciate everybody showing up and for the participation. And we likely will have probably 2 more meetings for the year is what I'm guessing, given that we're going to quickly run into the holiday season. And I think most of our community members will be out on holidays at some point over the next 6 to 8 weeks. So we'll probably have an event or have a community meeting in 2 weeks, possibly again in a month from now. But that will probably be it for calendar year 23. So anyways, thanks for the time and attention, and we'll see you all around the community. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.